Welcome to the Fortify Risk Management, the Strategic Risk Mind podcast. I'm your host, Joe Anderson. We're excited to have you here. And I have joining me today a friend of mine and business colleague, David Smith with Alpine Engineering. He's the principal of this firm. David, tell us a little bit about your company and what makes you guys unique in the marketplace.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here, Joe.
Sure.
So Alpine Engineering and Design is a mechanical engineering consulting company. We have licensed professional engineers and certified safety professionals that help design equipment to do dangerous things safely. So we provide services both on the design side, which could be anything from a ground up design for a new piece of equipment, or it could be looking at equipment that a company already has, ensuring that it's safe, ensuring that it's functioning properly in the environment that they're using it. And then we also have a forensic arm of our business where we go in and look at equipment that has either malfunctioned or failed or was otherwise involved in an injury or accident, and try to figure out what happened and why.
Yeah, this reminds me of some of the shows on TV where they're doing the crime scene investigations, but this is more of a safety investigation, right?
It's very similar to a Bones or a CSI, except instead of looking at dead people, we're looking at equipment.
Yeah, that's cool. Man, these are the kind of jobs I'd like to do. That's awesome. I just don't have the brain. But anyways, no, we're super excited to have you on board and as a partner with us. And I wanted to hear a little bit about your background too, and kind of what got you into this spot with having your own firm in this space.
And my father retired a couple of years ago, and I took it over from him. So it started out in the refuse industry with garbage trucks when they went from two guys riding on a step on the back and manually dumping cans into the back of a truck to the more automated systems where there's an arm that comes out and grabs the garbage can and dumps it in. That's where we got our start, and from there we've branched out into all sorts of different industrial machinery, from garbage trucks to aerial lifts to conveyors to forklifts and thrill rides, all sorts of different stuff.
So you mentioned thrill rides. I just wrote an article on how building a roller coaster is like building a risk management plan. And that's interesting. I was thinking about that when you mentioned dangerous things, because those are pretty dangerous.
If they're not done properly, they can be, but when there are really good standards that have been put in place for design guidelines and requirements, and as long as those are followed, they really end up being very safe.
That's great. Well, that's really neat, and I think as we're talking with some of our other partners, whether they be banks, insurance brokers, mergers and acquisitions groups, business brokers, associations, it's really interesting to me the niche area that you guys play in the whole process, because a lot of times people have these emotional attachments to their products they're super excited about, and then all of a sudden they don't think about, well, what if the worst case scenario happened here, here, or here, or how do we engineer this for the stupidest, most moronic, idiotic person so that everybody else will be fine, right? And I think that's that kind of thought process that you guys bring to the table, which I love.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing that will bring a new company to a halt faster than a serious injury involving one of their products. It's something that you just never want to see happen. There's this whole concept of ready, fire, aim, which works great in some industries, software, for example. But when you're dealing with equipment where people are involved and hazards are present, you have to aim before you fire. You have to do the analysis to make sure it's safe, because otherwise you're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, that's a great point. It gets back to that theme of doing the legwork first, right? And so going back to your background, it's kind of a third generation business. Tell us about kind of your experience and your educational kind of / other background that you bring to the table for the folks out there, and then also some of that of your team. You know, give us and we understand there's a couple of different categories of employees, but how well trained are these people?
Absolutely. We try to hire the very best and brightest. So I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and I also have an MBA with an emphasis in product development.
Hmm.
All of our engineers have at least a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. All of our senior engineers have a professional engineering license,
Okay.
and then we also have, I think all of our engineers now have their certified safety professional credential as well.
Okay. That's cool.
So there's a lot of training, there's a lot of education, and a lot of continuing education to maintain all those certifications.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to take a quick divergent, fun little segment here. I like to joke with my wife. She's a data analyst. So I like to joke with her that when she gets together with her data analyst friends, they share spreadsheets, and that gives them a good time. What do engineers do to have a good time?
Oh man, so many things, but we like spreadsheets too.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues showed us the other day how he analyzed purchasing his new vehicle since his older one bit the dust.
Okay.
And he put together a whole spreadsheet of cost and miles and plotted it all out and created regression lines
Oh my
to
goodness.
see what a fair price would be based on mileage. And
I mean, the term analysis paralysis comes to mind, but you know, maybe that's part of the business.
yeah, there's you can definitely do too much, but there is a sweet spot because you
That's
can
right.
also do too little.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks for opening it up and sharing that a little bit.
So as you're working with clients in the area of risk management, there's a few areas that you work in. One is on the front end, and you and I have had conversations about this where a client comes up with a product design or a product template or prototype, and you're able to test that out. Help us understand what that looks like.
Sure. So there's a number of ways that this might come about, or we might perform this service for a company.
Mm-hmm.
It might be for a product that you are looking to sell to the public,
Okay?
right? And we can do what's called a risk assessment or a design safety review
Yeah.
and look at all the different ways that somebody might get hurt with this product, all the different ways that it might fail. You know, is
Mhm.
something going to break, and is that going to drop something? Is there a place where someone's going to get their hand or their foot caught?
Mm-hmm.
Is there some heavy lifting involved where you know someone might pull a muscle or strain their back?
Yeah.
Those are all the sort of things that you want to look for based on the ordinary use as well as foreseeable misuse.
I see.
Right? You had mentioned earlier that oftentimes you don't have the most intelligent people
Yes.
using products. You know, the term that we use internally is how stupid do you have to design for?
Yes.
And that's always a question that you have to ask. Because a lot of times people just really aren't thinking. They expect a product to work a certain way, and they're not doing this analysis. You know, how am I going to get hurt when I'm using this? And
Yes.
so it's great to have had somebody do that ahead of time to help keep those people safe.
Well, and I mean, at the end of the day, we want zero accidents or zero issues. We have one issue, it can really create a major problem. So we're not shooting for the average person's intelligence being able to use this product well. We're shooting for, you know, the worst case scenario using it well, right? And I think that's kind of one of the points you're bringing out, which I love. So your team can come together, maybe a few different people on your team from different angles, surround that product, you know, in essence, stress test it from an engineering standpoint and figure out, hey, where's the hiccups, where's the potential pitfalls, and then what are you doing with the client on the back after that? Like, what does the client get from it? It's great to tell them here's all the problems with your product, but like, where do they go from there?
That's a great question, and you know there are prescribed steps that the safety profession has come up with. When you find a hazard, you can classify it. You balance how likely is someone to get hurt, or how badly are they going to get hurt, and then how likely is that to happen.
Okay.
right? So if I'm going to get a paper cut,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a terrible injury, right? And
Yeah.
even if it's happening all the time, that's something you have to decide, is that enough of a problem that we have to fix it, or is that okay?
Sure.
On the other hand, if it's, someone could get killed using this product, even if there's a small probability of that happening, we really have to look at that and see if there's a better way to do it.
Yes.
And so they've come up with what they call the hierarchy of controls, the way to control these risks or hazards.
Okay.
And
That's interesting.
there are different steps, so you can design it out. So starting at the top with the most effective, you want to design out the hazard, right? Is there a way that we can redesign this product or make a change so that this hazard no longer exists?
Okay. So give me an example of that.
So there was one company that we worked with, and they had a labeling machine, and they got these big spools of labels that weighed 60, 70 pounds.
Okay.
And they had to have somebody lift it up and put it into the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a significant hazard, right? You're
Yeah.
not supposed to be lifting up that much weight as an individual, particularly at awkward angles, to
Sure.
try and put it into a machine. So what we did was we designed and built a custom lifting device that would fit within their specific space requirements, that could lift and insert this reel with the press of a button.
Okay.
And so we completely eliminated the hazard of somebody lifting that up.
Man, that's awesome.
Um,
So it's not just taking that product and figuring out how to make that product foolproof on the final end, but it's looking at the whole process of manufacturing the product as well, the machinery that you're using, the lack of,
mhm.
and then figuring out, okay, how do we engineer this so that we look at employee safety, we look at, in client safety, distributor safety, all the different pieces along the way.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, that's really interesting. And then I kind of wanted to also talk with you about kind of the back end of your services, which is the expert witness side. And there's two areas in particular that we've talked about pretty extensively. One is in expert witness services for patent litigation,
Mhm.
and the other is for product liability litigation. So can you touch on each of those a little bit and kind of talk about what you guys bring to the table in those environments?
Sure. Yeah, for patent litigation, we're really explaining the technology in a way that it would have been understood by, they call it a person of ordinary skill in the art. So when you're analyzing a patent, you're not supposed to analyze it as in a vacuum or as a layperson. You're supposed to analyze it from someone with experience in that industry.
Okay.
And so that's the analysis that we provide, is we help the attorneys and the jury and the judge and the court understand what the terms mean, what was known as someone who has experience in that field or in that art.
I see. So like, as an example, if I say enterprise risk management, and in large corporate risk management circles, they know what that means. But if a business owner of 100 people doesn't understand that term, I'm able to explain that out from my profession in the same way you're doing the same thing with that patent, to be able to explain, here's the technical language here, and here's what it means in layperson's terms or in terms of people that aren't qualified in this industry. Is that correct?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yep.
That's really cool. So what kind of credibility and value does that give to these cases when people are going in? Because I know sometimes it's really interesting to look at the big company or the corporate dollar and just want to reward the individual, even though you haven't proven anything, right?
Mhm.
And I think that can be a real risk for companies. So help us understand how an an expert witness can come in and really add credibility to that process.
Sure. So it's a little bit different for a patent case and a personal injury type case. On a patent case, usually it's two big companies suing each other, right?
Yeah,
or
that's
one big
correct.
company
That
suing
makes
another
sense,
big
yeah.
company. Every once in a while you have, a smaller company or an individual inventor suing someone. And it's really interesting to be able to go in, because there's always multiple facets to the story.
Mhm.
Is the patent enforceable? Is it valid? You know, should it have ever even been issued as a patent?
Yes.
You know, that's one of the things you have to look at. And then, is the company that they're accusing of infringing, is the thing that they're making or the thing that they're doing, does that really infringe? Is it close enough to what they have protected
Yes.
that they should be able to exclude them from making it?
Okay, that makes sense. But on the product liability side, then, where there's an injury or there's a major loss of life, I read about one recently with a ski lift, right? With a piece of equipment on the ski lift, and the person fell off and they were permanently, injured, right? And there was no way to stop it, even though yells were being done or something like that. It was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. One of my coworkers, he spent most of his career in the ski lift industry, so I'll have to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting on the personal injury side. You have to look at a number of different things. And I'm an engineer. I love rules. I love process and procedure. And what I've found is there's always a balance, right? There's things that the company can do. There's processes and procedures that companies should do. And there's processes and procedures that the users should do and that the companies that employ them should do. And so you have to look at all of those things in balance. Did everybody do what they were supposed to do? Did they follow the best practices? Or was there some omission that resulted in this injury? Whether that was from a design perspective, whether that was from an operational perspective, someone not being trained properly, was it from a company perspective where they didn't provide the right equipment for a job? And you get to look at all those different things and figure out what could have been done better, what should have been done better if they'd followed the best practices, and then also point the finger in the right direction, right? Because a lot of times when someone gets hurt, they say, well, it's your fault and your fault and your fault and your fault. Oftentimes there is fault somewhere, but it's not always with the people that they're pointing a finger at.
Yeah, that's a good point. So being able to kind of help people see clearly what really happened, what could have happened, some of that. And finally, I want to kind of pull everything together, because I think the front end, prevention, assessments, reverse engineering the product for liability issues and coming up with countermeasures, let's call them, right? Or recommendations to be able to improve the product really helps the back end. And let's be honest, whether it's product liability or any other type of claim, the majority of the companies out there, they aren't going to do that most of the time. And usually you get brought into the problem, right? And it's so much more helpful for a company's health, profitability, protection of assets and people to be able to get in on the front end, right? And those two can work hand in hand. Talk about the power of having a firm like yours come in and do the assessments on the front end, and then be able to have those assessments to go through the expert witness side on the back end.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's something that unfortunately people don't often think about until there's an accident, and then they start to think, oh, well, what should we have done better? What could we have done had we known? And that's an area that we really like to be in, is helping prevent these accidents in the first place, because by and large, most of the injuries that I've seen and the failures that I've analyzed were preventable had they been analyzed ahead of time.
Yeah, that's an interesting statement. I've kind of found the same thing. I did a lot of work in workers' compensation, and it's funny, I'd run into these safety committees and they'd say, we could have done nothing on this. These were just stupid people doing stupid things. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to take that from you guys. We're going to improve this process, right? There's always usually something behind it that you can improve. And I just think that's awesome. You guys are helping people out in this area. It's so great. Well, David, we've really enjoyed our time together visiting about all the things that Alpine Engineering does as one of our partners, whether it be on the front end, reverse engineering product liability and coming up with recommendations, or the back end, expert witness, in patent litigation and product litigation or product liability. And so I'm just going to kind of give you the last word here for our audience. You know, kind of parting comments, encouragements, tips, anything like that that you have.
Yeah, my parting words would be to, you know, take safety seriously. You know, take the time to think about it before something bad happens. Look for the ways that something might fail before you go ahead and do something, because the more aware you are, the better you are able to prevent it. So whether that's something that you're doing on your own or whether you bring in somebody like Alpine Engineering and Design to help with that, you know, the end goal is to keep people safe at the end of the day and prevent injury.
I love it. Well, thank you. That's a wrap for the podcast today with the Strategic Risk Mind. We appreciate you joining us. And as always, look forward to your feedback, comments, and ideas. We'll see you next week. God bless and have a great day.